Ray awoke in a pile of comfortable, if somewhat threadbare furs and woolen blankets, as the sun shone in through the not insubstantial cracks in the clapboards lining the sides of the small bedroom. He could faintly smell sweat and dander, but the promise of crisp mountain air seemed to follow the sunbeams and dance upon gentle swirls as Ray rose, stretching with a mighty groan as he limbered his rather pedestrian frame. Medium height, medium build, neatly cropped head of mostly brown hair. Ray examined himself in the ornate, obviously ancient mirror hanging next to the door and seeming wildly out of place. It was as Ray stared at this reflected image of a stranger that he screamed. The voice in Ray's head was calm and reassuring, but also firm and commanding, which Ray paradoxically found comforting and discomfiting simultaneously. "Please remain calm. You are in no peril." Ray stopped screaming. "Who are you?" he asked. "I cannot reveal that to you, but you may refer to me as Sai," Sai replied in Ray's head. "How are you doing that?" "Doing what?" "The telepathy. Why do I hear you in my head? And where are you exactly? And who are you exactly? And for that matter, who the fuck am I exactly?" Ray's voice rose in both volume and pitch as his barrage of increasingly traumatic questions rapidly tumbled out of him. "Please remain calm. You are in no peril." "Right, you mentioned that." Ray concentrated on his breathing. Deep breath, in through the mouth. Hold it, then out through the nose. In and out. In, out. Sai waited silently for a moment, then began answering Ray's questions in the order they were received. "There are many things I am unable to reveal to you, and the exact nature of my telepathy is one of these. I can assure you that I am real, you are not hallucinating, and while you may be experiencing some minor shock due to your perceived lack of memory and unusual new voice in the head, you are safe and in no peril." "Right, I got it." Ray cut in with only a mild edge to his voice. "So, Sai, what can you tell me about my perceived lack of memory?" "What I can tell you is that this is sort of rebirth. Not quite reincarnation. At least, not in the way you would conceptualize it. Not resurrection either, really. Come to think of it, it is exactly a rebirth. Tell me, why do you think you screamed upon looking into that mirror?" "I don't know. I didn't recognize the face looking back at me, but thinking on it now, I don't know what I was expecting, and I don't think I remember what I look like. That don't seem right." "I assure you, Ray, that is completely normal, and you are... Sorry, never mind. Anyway, here you can mold yourself into, well, lots of different things. Want to live that rock star dream? Customize your skills and traits to take the world by storm. Speaking of storms, fancy lightning magic? We've got that. What's that you say? You've got a thing for pointy ears and really long-winded, boring wordplay? Sure, you could be an elf." "What are you saying? It sounds a lot like you're telling me I'm a new character in some kind of a fantasy game. Surely that isn't what you're telling me, right?" "Well..." Damn it, this didn't make any sense. Life isn't some sort of game. But Ray had to admit he didn't recognize his own reflection, and he was hearing voices. Maybe life wasn't a game, but Ray was pretty sure it wasn't supposed to be that either. And frankly, if the choice was losing his damn mind or playing along with the friendly, if a bit too eager to convince Ray things were fine, voice in his head, well, okay, rebirth. I guess that's what the gnarly mirror is for? Character creation? "I suppose you could call it that. Touch the mirror to begin when you are ready to proceed." "Hold on a second, Sai. What sort of world am I going to find on the other side of that door? Is there any sort of briefing or anything? Surely you aren't just dropping me into the environment totally blind." "I'm not dropping you into anything, technically. I am here to guide you when you get lost or overwhelmed. I can provide you with some exposition regarding your immediate surroundings, however, to help you inform your mirror choices. On a grand scale, descendants of relatively recent human settlement have warred with the native population of elves to the great detriment of the elves. Now mostly wiped out, the few who remain do so in hiding, or far away from their ancient homelands. With a new landscape open to them, the humans set out exploring, settling, or exploiting what could be found. Deep in the mountains along the far western lands of this ancient realm, they uncovered a fascinating city, high in the towering peaks, nestled in the crook of a nearly circular oxbow of a mighty river. The city boasted high, wide walls that completely encircled the wide plain below. In the center of this plain rose an imposing observatory tower, itself massive in both height and diameter, and carved from faintly glowing purplish stone that hummed softly, radiating warmth. But the city's most interesting characteristic was that it constantly rotated, driven in endless circles by the raging river as it caressed the outer walls. How this marvel of magical mysticism and magnificent engineering was accomplished no one seems to know, or at least if they do, they're keeping it to themselves. Even better, the rotation seems to allow the city itself to act as some kind of tremendous drill, boring straight down into the earth ever so slowly. Each night, piles of ground-up earth and stone are deposited somehow around the perimeter of the city. The residents then use this new earth to gradually, constantly raise the city walls to keep pace with the sinking city. There is but one narrow and dangerous path that winds through the mountains, approaching the spinning marble from a vaguely north by northwestern route. This path ends at a sheer cliff face which plummets hundreds of feet into the chasm below, certain death for any fool enough to leap into the void, and a pair of sturdy stone blockhouses and a company of city guards. Here, a drawbridge can be lowered when needed to allow visitors to drive their wagons and carts up onto the rotating walls. This also has the beneficial effect of smoothing out the freshly laid earth and smoothing the edge of the transition. Unfortunately, it also means there is no outer railing among this massive rotating earthworks, so don't stray too close to the outer edge. From this outer wall ring road, there are periodic stables, warehouses, taverns, trade guildsmen, all the things you need for bulk commerce and rank debauchery. Slung from and attached to the walls are multiple levels of walkways, gangplanks, shops, flophouses, restaurants, you name it. The bulk of the population, the human population anyway, live in these levels, which were built rather hastily over the last few years as the humans have flocked to the location, eager to either pursue the purpose of the drilling city, chase after riches purported to be hidden below or within, or simply to eke out a living in support of those fools soon to be parted from their money. Down on the floor of the city is mostly farmland, crops and animals grazing covering the landscape. With the fall of their empire and their society and civilization in ruins, the elves living down below have reached a tenuous, peaceful existence, with the human powers quickly filling the spaces above. The elves continue to grow food and provide it to the masses, and in return the ground floor and, notably, the central tower remain unmolested by outsiders. The humans have naturally been itching to get inside that observatory, but only the Council of Three have been allowed that great honor, and then only as needed to seal the peace deal. What they experienced there, they've kept to themselves. That brings us to here and now. You are in this ancient city. Once you complete your rebirth, you will have access to your character sheet and journal, along with a mapping skill that will show you areas you personally reveal or those revealed to you. The world is at your fingertips, Ray. You can see what life is like as an elven goat herder, living quietly but in trepidation that the teeming mass of short-lived opportunists above won't murder over you in your sleep. You can flip the script, tackle a human who goes against the grain, one with a personal code of honor, and a long trench coat, and a pair of dark sunglasses, or anything really in between. Well, almost anything. By the nature of this rebirthing, you will begin this new life with only basic skills and information. You will be largely unremarkable in most areas, and therefore you cannot choose to be rebirthed as a member of the Council of Three, for instance, or one of the ancient elven spiritual leaders living in the Tower Observatory. There isn't much more I can reveal to you at this time, but you will come to experience and learn a great deal once you finish up here and enter the environment for yourself. I believe you will find the experience quite fascinating.